welcome to the slow world, where the world quiets down and nature tells its story. Settle in and allow the weight of the day to drift away. There is nothing you need to remember. Simply listen as we follow the journey of a quiet river. The story begins not with a river, but with a single drop of water, an entity so small and humble it seems insignificant. Its existence is born in the high, silent, and formidable places of the world, near the barren, wind-swept summit of a great stone mountain. Here, in this elevated realm, the air is thin and cold and sharp, holding a crystalline purity that is found nowhere else. The only sound is the vast, low, and constant hum of the wind as it moves without obstacle across the empty, rocky peaks. It is a world of stone and sky, of immense scale and profound silence. This single drop of water was once a part of a winter storm, a unique and intricate six-sided crystal of ice. A snowflake that fell months ago during a blizzard that shrouded the mountain in white. It drifted down from a heavy grey sky, a silent messenger from the clouds, and joined a deep, pristine snowpack that blankets the high mountain cirque. A great bowl-shaped valley carved by ancient glaciers. For months, it lay dormant, a tiny crystal held in a state of perfect, suspended animation, locked in place amongst trillions of others, part of a great, silent, white expanse that gleamed under the winter sun and glowed with a soft, ethereal light under the moon. It was a part of the mountain's winter stillness, a frozen memory of the sky. But now, the season is turning. The long, cold rain of winter is beginning to yield. The sun, climbing higher in the sky each day, has begun to lend its persistent and gentle warmth to the high altitudes. Deep within the insulating layers of the snowpack, a slow, profound change is happening. The rigid, beautiful crystals of snow begin to soften, to lose their sharp, intricate edges. The bonds between them weaken. And for the first time since it fell from the sky, our drop of water becomes liquid again. A microscopic bead of moisture clinging to the surface of a melting snowflake. It is a moment of rebirth, of transformation from solid to liquid, from stasis to potential. It does not move at first. It is held by the immense, compact pressure of the snow above, and the powerful force of capillary action, the surface tension between the snow crystals around it. But gravity, the most patient and eternal force of all, begins its gentle, insistent, and undeniable pull. Drip. It seeps downward, a slow, invisible, internal journey through the dense, white, porous mass of the snowpack. It trickles past countless other snowflakes, each one also beginning its own slow transformation from solid to liquid. It joins with another drop, and then another, their individualities merging as they form a tiny, cohesive bead of pure, cold water. They move together now, a small collective, finding a path of least resistance, through the melting snow, following the channels and fissures that are opening up within the snowfield. Eventually, after a journey that could take hours or days, they reach the bottom of the snowpack, and for the very first time, the water touches the true earth. Or rather, in this high place, the stone, It emerges from the base of the receding snowfield, a single glistening drop, and spills onto the cold, hard surface of ancient granite. The rock is grey and weathered by millennia of wind and ice, its surface covered in resilient, beautiful patches of pale green and bright orange lichen, tiny, symbiotic life forms that have made this inhospitable, barren place their home. The water hesitates for a moment, a clear, perfect jewel on the surface of the rock, reflecting the brilliant, deep blue of the high-altitude sky. Then it begins to move. It follows a tiny, almost invisible crack in the stone, a miniature canyon, a path carved by a million drops, just like it, over thousands upon thousands of years. This is its first channel, its first humble riverbed. It flows. A single, silent, determined trickle of water in a vast, silent world. A few feet farther, it joins with another trickle, emerging from another part of the snowfield. Their meeting is a quiet, seamless merging. There is no splash, no sound, only a slight increase in volume. They are now a small, unified stream, no wider than a single finger. This is the birth of the river. It is humble, silent, and utterly pure. Its water is colder than ice and clearer than glass, containing no sediment, no life, only the memory of snow and stone. It knows only the cold granite beneath it, the brilliant blue sky above it, and the undeniable downward pull of the world. It is the beginning. As the small, silent trickle continues its downward journey, pulled by the unceasing force of gravity, it begins to change. It gathers more and more water from the melting snowfields above and from the damp, spongy, green moss that grows in thick carpets on the shaded side of the rocks. Each patch of moss acts like a natural sponge, soaking up meltwater and releasing it slowly, feeding the nascent stream. It grows from a trickle into a brook, from a brook into a true stream. And with this new volume, this new energy, it finds its voice. For the first time, the river makes a sound. It is not a roar, but a soft, happy, and intricate babbling music. It is the pure sound of water moving over stone. It tumbles over smooth, grey pebbles that have been worn down by centuries of this very motion, creating tiny, effervescent, oxygen-rich rapids. It slides over larger, moss-covered rocks, the water dividing around the obstacle and rejoining on the other side in a playful, seamless dance. It fills small, deep pools where the gradient of the mountain flattens for a moment, the water swirling in a quiet, dark eddy, a place of temporary rest, before spilling over the rocky edge and continuing its journey downward. The sound is a constant, gentle chorus of life, a sign that the mountain's frozen heart is melting. The stream is now a living, moving thing, full of a youthful, gentle, and persistent energy. It descends the steep mountain slope, leaving the barren, rocky peaks behind and entering the subalpine forest. Here, life is more abundant, more varied. Tall, spire-like fir trees and hardy, gnarled pine trees grow, their deep roots clinging tenaciously to the thin, rocky soil. Their fallen needles form a soft, fragrant, reddish-brown carpet on the forest floor, a carpet that muffles all sound except the stream's own voice. The air here is thick with the clean, sharp scent of pine resin. The sunlight, which was so direct and unfiltered on the summit, is now dappled and soft. It filters through the high, dense branches of the evergreens, creating a moving, shifting mosaic of bright, warm light and deep, cool shadow on the water's surface. The stream sparkles and flashes as it moves from sun to shade, from shade back into sun. Life, complex and varied, begins to interact with the river. A small, dark brown bird, a water ozell, lands on a flat, dry rock in the middle of the stream. It bobs up and down on its spindly legs, a characteristic, rhythmic dipping motion. Then, it dives headfirst into the cold, clear, rushing water, disappearing completely for a moment before re-emerging, sleek and wet, with a tiny aquatic insect held firmly in its beak. A delicate, long-legged water strider, a creature that seems to defy physics, skates effortlessly across the surface tension of a quiet pool, its feet creating tiny, almost invisible dimples on the water's skin. It is a world of small, quiet miracles. Beneath the surface, in the cold, clear, highly oxygenated water. A small, native brook trout holds its position in the current. Its body is a perfect, streamlined shape of muscle and instinct, pointing upstream. It barely seems to move, yet it is constantly adjusting with tiny, almost imperceptible flicks of its fins to stay in place. Its sides are a beautiful, intricate pattern of olive green and yellow, spotted with brilliant red and blue dots, a flash of hidden colour in the clear water. It waits, patient and alert, for a fly or a nymph to drift by within its reach. This is its entire world, this small stretch of cold, moving water. The stream carves its path, a tireless and patient sculptor. It slowly, patiently, wears away the stone, carrying tiny grains of sand, feldspar, and mica with it. This is its first cargo, the first sign that it is a river of consequence, a geological force that can, over-owns, shape the very world it moves through. It moves with a purpose that is not its own, but the purpose of the mountain itself. It is the mountain's way of sending its stored water, its very essence, its lifeblood, down to the thirsty world below. The journey is still young, the river still small, but it is gathering strength, and its voice is growing clearer and more confident with every passing stone. Each tributary it meets, another small stream born of snow, or a hidden spring, adds its own small measure to the growing flow. The river begins to understand its own power, not as a force of destruction, but as a force of constant, gentle, and inevitable change. It learns to navigate around obstacles too large to move, finding the path of least resistance, a lesson in patience and persistence. The water, once so pure it held only the memory of snow, now begins to carry the character of the land it touches. It gathers minerals from the rocks, organic matter from the decomposing needles on the forest floor, and the scent of the pine trees that line its banks. It is becoming a part of the mountain's ecosystem, a vital artery in a living landscape. The mountain stream is alive, a ribbon of silver and sound, making its way, always downward, always toward the sea it has never known, but which calls to it with an ancient, irresistible voice. The stream continues its relentless descent, and as the slope of the land becomes more gentle, more forgiving, the river changes its character again. Its energetic, youthful tumble slows to a more mature and graceful glide. Its narrow, rocky channel widens, its banks moving farther apart. The sound of its voice deepens, transforming from a high, babbling chatter to a lower, more constant and soothing murmuring flow. It has left the high-altitude world of pine and fir behind, and has entered the deep, quiet, deciduous woods of the lowlands. Here, the great, broadleaf trees stand tall and silent, ancient oaks with bark like wrinkled skin, tall, smooth-barked maples that turn to fire in the autumn, and pale, ghost-like birches with their peeling, paper-thin bark. Their thick, leafy canopy creates a world of deep, cool, green shade, a living, breathing cathedral of wood. The river, which sparkled so brightly in the mountain sun, is now a dark, mysterious, and reflective ribbon. Its surface like polished obsidian or dark, clear glass. It mirrors the great, arching branches above, the slow, drifting passage of white summer clouds, and the deep, restful, almost infinite green of the leaves. The banks of the river are no longer made of stone, but of soft, rich, dark earth, built up over centuries by the river's own deposits of silt and clay. They are held together by the gnarled, tangled, and immensely strong roots of the trees, a living web that prevents the river from washing them away. Thick, lush patches of fern grow down to the water's edge, their feathery fronds dipping into the slow, cool current. In the spring, before the great trees above have fully leafed out and stolen the sun. The forest floor is a carpet of ephemeral wildflowers. White trillium with its 3 perfect petals nodding gracefully in the gentle breeze. Yellow trout lily, its spotted leaves like the fish it is named for, and the strange, hooded, almost secretive jacinthopulpit, all blooming in the damp, shaded soil, a brief, beautiful explosion of colour. The river has become a destination, a gathering place, a lifeline. It is a vital source of life for the many creatures of the forest. In the soft, dim, ethereal light of early morning, a familiar white-tailed deer steps cautiously and silently out from the trees. She approaches the bank, her delicate hooves making no sound on the soft, mossy earth. She lowers her graceful head and drinks, her long, soft tongue lapping at the cool, clean water. Her reflection, perfect and still, looks back at her from the river's dark, mirror-like surface. She drinks her fill, then lifts her head, a single drop of water clinging to her black nose, before melting back into the shadows of the woods. Farther downstream, a family of raccoons, their clever faces like masked bandits, their fur thick and grey, comes to the river's edge at night, under the light of a full moon. They use their nimble, surprisingly human-like paws to wash their food, dipping and turning objects. A crayfish, a frog, a fallen berry. In the shallow water, with a focused, intense concentration, their bright, intelligent eyes scanning the darkness for any sign of danger. A flash of electric blue and brilliant orange darts through the air above the water. A kingfisher, a jewel of a bird, perched on a dead, overhanging branch, has spotted its prey. It dives with breathtaking speed and arrow-like precision, hitting the water with a soft splash and emerging a moment later with a small, wriggling silver minnow held firmly in its sharp, dagger-like beak. It returns to its perch, shakes the water from its iridescent feathers, and swallows its prize whole. Here, in the forest, the river encounters the slow, patient, and industrious work of another master builder, the beaver. A dam expertly constructed of mud, stones, and gnawed through branches of aspen and willow with their bark stripped clean, stretches across the river from bank to bank. It is a masterpiece of natural engineering, a testament to instinct and persistence. It does not stop the river, for nothing can truly stop the river, but it slows it down even more, creating a wide, still, and deep pond behind it. The river water, patient and persistent, seeps through the countless tiny cracks and crevices in the dam and spills over the top in a gentle, wide, curtain-like waterfall, its voice now a constant. Soothing, rushing splash that can be heard throughout this part of the forest, a peaceful, white noise. The beaver pond becomes its own unique ecosystem, a haven for fish, frogs, turtles, and water birds. Ducks dabble in the shallows. Dragonflies with wings like stained glass hunt for insects above its surface. The river, temporarily transformed, rests here, its waters warming in the sun, its sediments settling to the bottom. The river moves through the forest, a quiet, observant traveller. It carries fallen leaves on its surface, little brown and yellow boats spinning slowly in the gentle current, journeying to unknown destinations. It reflects the changing moods and colours of the seasons. The bright, hopeful, almost luminous pale green of spring, the deep, heavy, shaded, mature green of summer, the brilliant, fiery reds and golds and oranges of autumn, a breathtaking, fleeting spectacle, and the stark, beautiful, monochrome silhouette of bare branches against a grey winter sky, sometimes rimmed with ice along its edges. The river is deeper now, its secrets held in its cool, dark, slow-moving water. It has gained a sense of quiet maturity, of knowing purpose. It is no longer the boisterous mountain stream, but a more thoughtful, contemplative being. It has learned the lessons of the forest patience, stillness, and the quiet strength of slow, persistent growth. It carries the scent of damp earth, of decaying leaves, of the rich, complex life of the forest. It is the forest's blood, its circulatory system, nourishing all it touches. Leaving the cool, deep shade of the forest behind, the river emerges into a new landscape, a wide, flat, open plain. Here, the world expands. The sky is vast and domed, the horizon a distant, hazy line. The land, no longer confined by steep mountain slopes or dense trees, allows the river to express a different aspect of its character, its freedom to wander. The river, now broad and slow and powerful, begins to meander, It no longer flows in a straight, determined line, but curves and winds back and forth across the plain in great, sweeping, lazy, shaped bends. These meanders are not random. They are the river's natural response to the flat terrain, the way it dissipates its energy, the way it explores the land. Each curve is a slow dance, a conversation between the water and the earth. On the outside of a bend, the current flows faster, its energy gently, but relentlessly eroding the bank, carrying away soil and sand. On the inside of the bend, the current slows, and the river deposits its load of sediment, building up a new bank, a new piece of land. Over centuries, these meanders shift and change, the river constantly remaking its own path. A slow, geological artist painting with water and earth. The floodplain through which it flows is wide and fertile, enriched by the river's occasional overflow during spring floods, when heavy rains or rapid snowmelt from the mountains cause the river to swell beyond its banks. These floods, while sometimes destructive to human endeavours, are a vital part of the plain's natural cycle, depositing fresh, nutrient-rich silt across the land, creating exceptionally fertile soil. Here, the vegetation changes again. Tall, graceful willow trees line the riverbanks, their slender, flexible branches weeping down to touch the water's surface. Cottonwood trees, with their heart-shaped leaves that tremble and rustle in the slightest breeze, grow in dense groves. The air in summer is filled with their white, fluffy seeds drifting like a warm, gentle snow. The river on the plain is a world of wide, open spaces and slow, gentle rhythms. Great blue herons stand patiently in the shallow water. Along the edges, their long necks coiled, their sharp eyes scanning for fish or frogs. They are statues of perfect, focused stillness. Muskrats, small, industrious, aquatic rodents, build their dome-shaped lodges of mud and reeds in the quiet backwaters. Their V-shaped wakes can be seen as they swim across the river's calm surface. In the late afternoon, as the sun begins to lower in the western sky, the river becomes a mirror of liquid gold. The slow-moving water catches the warm, honey-coloured light, and the entire surface seems to glow. The sounds here are different from the forest. There is the constant, gentle lapping of water against the muddy banks, the rustling of reeds and tall grasses in the wind, the distant, mournful call of a red-tailed hawk circling high overhead. And in the evening, the deep, resonant chorus of bullfrogs from the marshy areas along the river's edge. The river moves through this open land with a slow, ponderous dignity. It has travelled far from its mountain source, and it has gathered much along the way. Water, sediment, life, and memory. It is a repository of the lands it has touched. Its waters are no longer crystal clear as they were in the high mountains. They are now a murky, greenish-brown, rich with the suspended soil of the plain and teeming with microscopic life. It is a river that has seen much and has much still to see. It is patient, it is powerful, it is eternal, and it continues its slow, inexorable journey, always downstream, always toward the sea. After its long, meandering journey across the plain, the river approaches the final stage of its existence, the place where its fresh water will meet the salt water of the great ocean. This is the estuary, a unique and dynamic world where two very different realms collide and merge. The river widens dramatically here, its banks becoming low and indistinct, dissolving into vast, flat expanses of salt marsh and mudflat. The influence of the ocean is felt long before the ocean itself is seen. The rhythm of the tides, the twice-daily rise and fall of the sea, begins to pulse up the river. For the first time in its journey, the river's current is met by an opposing force, the incoming tide pushing salt water upstream. The water here is brackish, a constantly changing mixture of fresh and salt, its salinity varying with the tide and the season. The landscape is one of subtle beauty and immense biological richness. Tall, resilient marsh grasses, able to tolerate the salt and the twice-daily inundation, grow in dense, waving fields. Their roots form a thick, tangled mat that holds the soft mud together, creating a vital habitat. The air is filled with the sharp, clean, unmistakable scent of the sea, a mixture of salt, seaweed, and distant horizons. And for the first time, the river hears the sound of the ocean, not the gentle lapping of its own waters, but the distant, rhythmic, powerful roar of waves breaking on an unseen shore. The estuary is a nursery, a feeding ground, and a refuge for countless creatures. Shorebirds, sandpipers, plovers, and willets probe the exposed mudflats at low tide with their long, delicate beaks, searching for tiny crabs, worms, and mollusks. Their calls are sharp and plaintive. Great flocks of ducks and geese use the estuary as a vital resting and feeding stop during their long, seasonal migrations. Fish that can tolerate both fresh and salt water, like striped bass and flounder, move in and out with the tides. Oysters and mussels grow in dense beds on the muddy bottom, filtering the rich, soupy water for their food. The river itself seems to slow down even further here, as if pausing to reflect on its long journey and to prepare for its final transformation. It deposits the last of its heavy load of sediment. The sand, silt, and clay it has carried from the mountains and the plains. This sediment builds up over time, creating new land, new mudflats, new marshes, a process known as delta formation. The river is literally building its own doorway to the sea. As the tide goes out, the river flows strongly toward the ocean, its fresh water pushing back the salt. As the tide comes in, the ocean pushes back, and the river's flow can even be reversed in its lower reaches. It is a constant, gentle, powerful dance, a blending of two worlds. And then, finally, the river reaches the sea. There is no dramatic waterfall, no sudden plunge. It is a slow, wide, and almost imperceptible merging. The river's identity, its distinct character as a flow of fresh water, begins to dissolve. Its waters mingle and mix with the vast, salty, and ancient waters of the ocean. The boundary between river and sea is not a line, but a zone, a place of transition. The river, which began as a single, humble drop of water high on a mountain, has completed its journey. It has travelled hundreds, perhaps thousands, of miles. It has carved canyons, nourished forests, fertilized plains, and created a rich estuary. Now, it gives itself completely to the ocean. Its water becomes a part of the immense, global circulation of the seas, its individual drops indistinguishable from the trillions of others that make up the great blue heart of the planet. But the story does not end here, for the water that was once the river will, in time, be drawn up into the sky by the warmth of the sun to form clouds. And those clouds will drift over the land and perhaps, one day, release their moisture as snow on a high mountain peak. And the journey will begin again. The river is eternal, its story a timeless cycle of transformation and return. The campfire crackles softly in the distance, a warm sound. The river has found its peace, its final, vast, and endless resting place. Thank you for wandering with us in the slow world. May your rest be as calm as the ocean at dusk, and may sleep find you gently.